One particular problem that is classic in philosophy of science is the debate concerning realism and anti-realism.
One of the most important debates in the philosophy of science is probably the debate on realism. What does that mean? We can think about realism in at least two ways. One is a very general one, which is probably a very philosophical one too. And it can be translated in the question, does a real world exist? So when we live in a world, but is that world really existing? Or maybe it is just a projection of our minds. Think about the film Matrix. Okay? In another sense, we can think about and speak about realism in a more, let's say, precise way. So asking not whether an entire world exists, but whether some particular entities exist. And this is particularly important for philosophers of science because usually science speaks about entities. Often science speaks about entities that we cannot see or perceive directly. This is the case, for instance, of many entities that we study in physics, but it is also the case of some entities that we study in biology. In particular, think about species.
One side of this problem concerns the nature of the entities that are postulated in scientific theories. So, for example, in physics, the postulation of the atom has been discussed in realist and anti-realist terms for many centuries, actually. And the idea is, from a realist perspective, to take the atom as something that has got a material existence, and anti-realists would think about the atom as something that is necessary in order to make sense of our observations of phenomena.
In philosophy of mathematics, you also have this debate between realism and anti-realism. Traditionally, you have probably heard of this Platonist point of view, which is a kind of realism about mathematical entities. Okay? In philosophy of mathematics, there is nowadays this very specific argument in favor of Platonism, which goes along the following lines. We ought to be committed to all the entities which are indispensable to our scientific theories. And what kind of entities are indispensable in our best scientific theories? Well, we have concrete entities, and this gives rise to a kind of scientific realism about entities, but we also have mathematical entities, because in science, well, our scientific theories, they are built upon mathematics. So if we should be committed, according to the traditional scientific indispensability argument, to concrete entities which are posited in scientific theories, then, and this was Quine's and Putnam's point of view, we should also be committed to the mathematical entities which are involved in these scientific theories, which means when we build scientific theories, we use mathematics and we quantify over functions, number, etc. So these are indispensable in our scientific theories, and we should also be committed to the existence of these not concrete but abstract entities.
We cannot see species because they are, I don't know, too little, but we cannot see them and perceive them, maybe because they are scattered in time and in space and so on and so forth. But if we cannot see, if we cannot perceive them, we can have the doubt that maybe species do not exist, or that, to put it in other words, that maybe species are just concepts in our minds by means of which we put in order the natural world. But on the other hand, if we think that the species do not exist, that is, if we are anti-realist towards species, what does it mean to say that a species evolve? So what does it mean to speak about evolution? Or why should we be worried because we are losing species, and so on and so forth? So this is the kind of issue that, as a philosopher of biology in this case, you can face